If you're over 60 and still eating these 4 common foods, I want you to stop immediately, because they're not just making you tired, they're silently shutting down your blood flow, inflaming your prostate, and weakening the very force that defines your masculinity. I've seen too many men lose their strength, their intimacy, and even their independence, all because of what's on their plate. I'm Dr. Mohit Kara, a physician and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping older men regain their energy, vitality, and confidence. I've worked with thousands of patients, many of them veterans, grandfathers, husbands who came to me thinking they were just getting old, but aging isn't the real problem. The truth is far more disturbing. Most men are unknowingly eating foods that actively work against their circulation hormones and performance. And what's worse, many of these foods are labelled as healthy, low-fat, or heart-friendly. But for the aging male body, they are anything but safe today. I'll expose the 4 worst foods you must avoid after 60, and the 4 powerful alternatives that can restore your strength, improve your blood flow, and bring life back to your body. Stay with me, because later in this video, I'll reveal the simple daily meal I personally use to protect my arteries and performance. Even on the busiest days, this could change everything for you. Before we dive in, if you care about protecting your strength, your circulation, and your manhood, after 60, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a doctor-backed tip designed just for you. And if you find this video helpful, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps me make this content better for you. Let's start with the first and most dangerous offender, one that's found on breakfast plates in sandwiches and at nearly every backyard cookout. It's familiar, it's flavourful, and it's quietly damaging your blood vessels every single day. I'm talking about processed meats, and what they're doing to men over 60 might shock you. 1. Processed meats. Processed meats. I remember sitting across from a patient named George, not his real name, a retired firefighter, 67 years old, big strong hands, the kind of man who never complained. But that day, he looked me in the eyes and said, "Doc, something's off. I'm tired all the time, my blood pressure's high, and I just don't feel like myself anymore." He thought it was age, I thought otherwise. So we talked about his habits, and sure enough, every morning started the same way: bacon, sausage, or both, sometimes deli meat for lunch, a hot dog at the ball game. These foods were part of his routine, part of his memories, but they were also slowly breaking him down. Processed meats are one of the most dangerous things a man over 60 can put into his body. They may seem harmless, they may taste like comfort and tradition, but inside, they're loaded with preservatives, sodium nitrates, and saturated fats that directly attack your circulatory system. These compounds inflame your blood vessels, thicken your arteries, and interfere with nitric oxide, the chemical responsible for relaxing blood vessels and creating strong, healthy erections. And that's not all. The high sodium content raises blood pressure, puts strain on your heart, and increases fluid retention, especially around the prostate area. Worse yet, nitrates and nitrites used to preserve these meats can convert into harmful compounds called nitroamines in your body. These have been linked not only to heart disease, but also to cancers, including prostate cancer. I've seen this pattern far too often. A man comes in with declining energy, chronic fatigue, and poor performance. We run the labs. His testosterone is low, his arteries are inflamed, and when we look at his diet, processed meats are often at the centre. I told George, the truth, plain and simple. If you keep eating like this, you're going to lose your circulation, your strength, and your independence. It hit him hard, but he made the switch. He swapped sausage for wild salmon, gave up deli meats for home-cooked chicken breast. Within a few weeks, his energy returned, he slept better. His wife even pulled me aside and said, "Thank you, doctor. I feel like I have my husband back." That's the power of removing just one toxic habit from your daily life. But here's the thing, processed meats are just the beginning. Because even if you've cut those out, there's another common food that's just as dangerous. It looks harmless. It's on every breakfast table, and in nearly every sandwich. It doesn't taste salty or greasy, but it spikes your blood sugar and slowly suffocates your testosterone. Most men eat it every single day without thinking twice. So before you take another bite of toast or reach for that bagel, let's talk about the second worst food no man over 60 should be eating, because it may be doing more harm than you ever imagined. White bread and refined carbs, too white bread and refined carbs. There's something nostalgic about the smell of warm toast, a fresh bagel with butter, or a sandwich made with soft white bread. For many men I speak with, especially those over 60, these foods feel like part of a lifetime ritual. It's what they grew up on. It's what their parents served. It's what they passed down to their own children. But just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's safe. I think back to one of my patients, Carl, a 72-year-old widower rower with a gentle voice and kind eyes. He came to see me because he felt increasingly foggy. His energy was fading and he'd started to experience embarrassing problems with performance. What struck me most was that he'd never smoked, hardly drank, and even took walks daily on the surface. Carl was doing everything right, but when we dug into his diet, one thing became clear. His day started with toast included white rice or crackers at lunch, and ended with a muffin or cookie. In other words, it was saturated in refined carbohydrates. White bread crackers, pastries, and other refined carbs may not look harmful, but they hit your system like sugar bombs. They're stripped of fibre, stripped of nutrients, and rush into your bloodstream, like a wave spiking your blood sugar, flooding your insulin and triggering inflammation in your arteries. Over time, this roller coaster damages your blood vessel lining, shrinks testosterone production, and signals your body to store belly fat, especially the kind that chokes off circulation around your organs. The truth is, refined carbs are one of the most common reasons older men experience fatigue, brain fog, poor erections, and stubborn belly fat. They silently destroy your metabolic balance, and they do it in a way that feels comfortable, because they don't taste greasy or salty, but they weaken you from the inside out. When Carl and I reviewed his labs, he was shocked to see how unstable his blood sugar had become. His testosterone was below normal and inflammatory markers were elevated. I explained how this constant spike and crash cycle was quietly draining his strength. And then I showed him a simple shift, replacing white bread with steel-cut oats in the morning trading crackers for Ezekiel bread and reaching for nuts or berries instead of cookies. Within 3 weeks, he called me Doc. He said, "I feel like my brain turned back on." His energy returned, his weight dropped slightly without effort, and slowly even his performance in the bedroom began to return because his body wasn't being hijacked by sugar anymore. That's the difference real food can make when you stop feeding your body empty carbs and start nourishing it with fibre. Rich fuel. Now, if you think that was surprising, wait until you hear this next one. It's not sweet or soft, it's something salty. In fact, it might be lurking in your freezer or pantry right now. It doesn't come from a bakery, it comes from a box or can. And even though it claims to be quick light or heart healthy, it may be quietly flooding your body with a dangerous substance that stiffens your blood vessels and weakens your erections faster than almost anything else you eat. Let's talk about the next food that no man over 60 should be eating and the shocking way it's hiding in plain sight. Frozen dinners and canned soups. 3 frozen dinners and canned soups. High sodium foods. It was a cold morning when Alan walked into my office. He was 69, recently retired, living alone and trying his best to take care of himself. "Doc," he said with a nervous chuckle, "I think my microwave is my best friend these days." He meant it as a joke, but I could see the deeper truth behind it. Like so many older men, he had slipped into the habit of relying on convenience frozen dinners, canned soups, microwavable meals. It felt easy, it felt fast, and it felt harmless. But what it was doing to his body was anything but harmless. Most people don't realize just how much sodium is hiding in these convenient packages. You take a look at the label on a frozen turkey dinner or a can of low-fat chicken noodle soup, and you'll often see 1 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium in a single serving. Sometimes even more. That's nearly your entire recommended daily limit in one sitting. And it adds up fast, especially if you're eating this way for lunch and dinner every day. Here's the danger when sodium levels in your blood rise too high. Your body holds onto water to try and dilute it. That fluid retention increases the volume of blood in your arteries, forcing your heart to pump harder, putting more pressure on your vessel walls, and increasing your risk for high blood pressure and erectile dysfunction. But it doesn't stop there. Excess sodium also damages the delicate lining of your blood vessels, reduces nitric oxide availability, and stiffens arteries, making it harder for blood to flow where it's needed. Alan had been feeling more tired, more foggy, and more dependent on his blood pressure medications. He also noticed that his legs felt heavier and that his nighttime urination had increased. "I just thought it was part of aging," he told me. But when we reviewed his diet and connected the dots, it became clear his reliance on processed high-sodium foods was slowly working against him. I asked him to try something simple for 1 week. I challenged him to cook just 1 meal a day using real ingredients, vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains with no added salt. Just a pinch of sea salt or Himalayan pink salt if needed. Within days, he began to feel lighter. The swelling in his ankles reduced. His sleep improved, and most importantly, his blood pressure began to normalize. His heart didn't have to fight so hard, and his body finally began to relax. The truth is, sodium isn't evil. Your body needs salt to function, but the kind of sodium hiding in frozen meals and canned soups is processed excessive and stripped of natural minerals. It's not nourishing you, it's overwhelming you. And yet, even high-sodium meals pale in comparison to what I'm about to reveal next, because the next food on our list doesn't just mess with your blood pressure, it messes with your hormones. It's creamy, it's comforting, and it's often praised as a source of calcium for strong bones. But after 60, especially in men, it can quietly sabotage your testosterone, enlarge your prostate, and turn your masculine edge into hormonal confusion. Let's talk about the fourth and final food you must avoid, and why it might be the most dangerous of them all. Hormone injected. Dairy for hormone injected dairy. There's a story I often think about when I talk to patients about dairy. A man named Richard came to see me, 74 years old, former teacher, proud grandfather of 5. He was healthy on paper, no diabetes, decent cholesterol, but he felt off. His energy had dipped, his waistline was growing, his intimate life had flatlined. He looked me in the eye and said, "I just don't feel like a man anymore, Doc." It was quiet and heavy, and I could tell it took him courage to say it. So we talked. He wasn't drinking alcohol, he wasn't on testosterone. He exercised, walked regularly, but when we got to diet, one thing stood out every morning. He started his day with a bowl of cereal and milk. In the evening, he often had ice cream in between. He'd snack on cheese creamers and yogurt, thinking he was doing something healthy. After all, we've all been told for decades that dairy is good for bones and strong bodies, but for older men, especially those over 60, much of the dairy lining store shelves today is anything but natural or safe. You see, most conventional dairy products today come from cows treated with synthetic hormones like RBGH, a growth hormone that forces cows to produce more milk traces of these artificial hormones. Don't just disappear when the milk hits your glass, they remain, and over time, these compounds may mimic estrogen-like effects in the body, throwing off your delicate hormone balance, especially when your testosterone is already on the decline due to age. What's even more troubling is that these hormone-laced dairy products can lead to inflammation in the prostate water retention and a drop in free testosterone levels. For some men like Richard, the effect is subtle at first, sluggishness, belly fat, poor sleep, but eventually it starts to chip away at what makes you feel like yourself. The spark fades, the edge dulls, and it doesn't feel like aging. It feels like fading when we cut out the conventional dairy from Richard's diet and replaced it with organic, hormone-free Greek yogurt and unsweetened almond milk. Something incredible happened within weeks. The puffiness around his face reduced, his digestion improved, and he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "I didn't realize how numb I felt until I started waking up again." That to me says it all. The truth is dairy isn't the enemy, but hormone-injected dairy is. And when you're over 60, your body doesn't have the same tolerance it used to what you put into it matters more than ever. If you're still consuming conventional milk, cheese or ice cream daily, it might be time to rethink what that comfort is costing you. Now, here's the good news. While we've covered the 4 worst foods silently harming your strength, your hormones, and your performance, we're not stopping there, because the next part of this video is about healing. I'm going to show you 4 powerful foods, simple everyday options that can actually reverse the damage. These foods don't just taste good. They help restore circulation, protect your prostate, and bring life back to your body from the inside out. Let's take a look at what you should be eating instead. Starting today, 1 wild-caught salmon or sardines. Wild-caught salmon or sardines. There's something quietly powerful about the ocean. I grew up near the coast, and even now, when I smell grilled salmon or open a can of fresh sardines, I'm reminded of my father. He was a strong man, simple, steady, and he believed in the wisdom of nature. If it swims in clean waters and doesn't come in a box, he'd say, "It's probably good for your body." For your body! Back then, I didn't fully understand, but now, decades later, with all the science and patient experience behind me, I realise how right he was for men. Over 60 wild-caught salmon and sardines are among the most powerful foods you can put on your plate. These aren't just tasty fish. They are medicine in natural form, rich in omega-3 fatty acids. They help reduce inflammation throughout the body, especially in the blood vessels that matter most. When inflammation drops, your arteries begin to relax. Blood flows more freely. Oxygen reaches every corner of your body, from your brain to your heart, to the very organs that define your manhood. I remember a patient named Paul. He was 68 and struggling, not just physically, but emotionally. He had been eating healthy turkey sandwiches, avoiding fat and skipping red meat, but still felt like his energy was draining. When we talked, I asked him to do something different for 2 weeks. I told him to add wild-caught salmon to his dinner 3 times a week and sardines packed in olive oil to his lunch twice a week. He looked skeptical. Fish from a can, doc, but he trusted me. Within 10 days, he came back with a light in his eyes. "Something's changing," he said. "I don't feel as heavy. I slept through the night for the first time in months, and I think my wife noticed." We laughed, but I knew exactly what he meant. His blood work later showed improvements in triglycerides, a small drop in blood pressure, and an increase in energy markers. But what mattered most to Paul wasn't on the charts. It was how he felt like himself again. Wild salmon and sardines don't just help your heart. They support testosterone, protect your prostate, and provide critical nutrients like vitamin D, selenium, and protein. Without the chemicals and hormones found in processed meat, sardines in particular are underrated. They're small, yes, but they're packed with life-giving nutrients, including calcium for your bones and CoQ10 for your heart. They're also easy to prepare and affordable. Something I always remind my patients living on a fixed income: if you've never made the switch, this is the perfect time to start. Grill a piece of salmon with lemon and herbs. Mix sardines with chopped celery, olive oil, and a bit of mustard for a quick lunch. Your arteries, your energy, and your bedroom confidence will feel the difference. And while these ocean foods are game changers, they work even better when paired with the right kind of fuel. Because the next food I'm about to share isn't just heart healthy, it's blood sugar balancing, testosterone friendly, and keeps your body energized all morning long. Most men overlook it, but once you try it, you'll wonder why you didn't start eating it years ago. Let's talk about the second food that belongs on every man's plate after 60 steel-cut oats or Ezekiel bread. 2 steel-cut oats or Ezekiel bread. One of the most common questions I get from men over 60 is, "Doc, what should I eat for breakfast?" And for good reason. Breakfast sets the tone for your entire day. Your energy, your focus, your hormones, even your blood flow. I had a patient named Jerry, 71 years old, retired postal worker. Always up by Seth, out the door with coffee and a slice of white toast. He thought it was harmless, even healthy. But by mid-morning he was crashing low energy jittery, and by lunchtime reaching for something sugary to get through the slump when we talked. I asked him to try something different, something slower, steadier, and far more powerful for a man his age. I told him to start his day with steel-cut oats oatmeal. He asked, raising an eyebrow. I haven't had that since I was a kid, but I could tell he was willing to give it a try. Steel-cut oats are one of nature's most powerful grains, especially for men over 60. They digest, slowly releasing energy, gradually keeping your blood sugar stable and your hunger at bay. Unlike refined carbs, they don't spike your insulin, and that matters because stable blood sugar helps protect your testosterone, your circulation, and your metabolism. They're also packed with soluble fiber, which helps lower LDL cholesterol, clean your arteries, and reduce inflammation across the board. I often recommend topping them with cinnamon chia seeds and a handful of blueberries to add antioxidants and support nitric oxide production. But not everyone likes oatmeal, and I get that. That's why I also introduce Ezekiel bread to many of my patients. It's made from sprouted grains, nothing processed, nothing artificial, and it contains more fiber, protein, and nutrients than your average slice of white or even whole wheat bread. It's gentle on your digestion, doesn't flood your bloodstream with sugar, and supports healthy hormone function without the blood sugar. Roller coaster. Jerry tried both. He started his mornings with oatmeal 3 days a week, Ezekiel toast with almond butter the other days. And what happened next wasn't subtle within 2 weeks. His energy lasted until lunch. His mood improved. His cravings for sugar disappeared. But what really caught his attention was something else. He felt sharper more on, as he told me. It's like the fog lifted, Doc. That's what happens when you stop eating food that fights your body and start eating food that fuels it. Men over 60 don't need gimmicks or fads. They need steady energy, strong blood flow, and hormone balance. And it all starts with simple grounded choices like oats and sprouted grains. But energy isn't the only thing men struggle with as they age. There's another challenge that creeps up slowly. Something you may have noticed in your legs, your hands, even your lower back. It's not about sugar or hormones. It's about pressure. Silent, steady pressure that builds inside your blood vessels every time you eat one very common ingredient, and most men don't even know it's there. So let's talk about the next food that could be quietly damaging your circulation until you take control of it. 3 homemade meals with pink Himalayan. Homemade meals with pink Himalayan or sea salt. Years ago, a man named Robert sat in my office. He was 66, soft-spoken, and had recently lost his wife. Cooking had never been his thing. His wife had always handled the meals. Now he was trying his best, relying mostly on frozen dinners, canned soups, and microwavable meals. I try to pick the low-fat stuff, he said, and the labels say hard, he healthy. I thought I was doing okay, but his blood pressure was rising. He felt bloated, foggy, and weaker than usual. His sleep was broken, and more than once he admitted he felt short of breath. Walking up the stairs, when I looked at his diet, I saw the issue almost immediately. It wasn't just the convenience meals, it was the staggering amount of hidden sodium inside them. And I don't mean the salt you sprinkle on top. I mean the kind you don't see, the kind that's already packed deep into the food before you even open the box. I explained to Robert that his meals, though labelled with words like healthy, often contained over 500 milligrams of sodium per serving. That meant every bite was pushing his blood vessels harder and harder, forcing his heart to overwork, stiffening his arteries, and restricting the flow of blood through his body, not just to his brain or his heart, but also to the most intimate parts of his life. So we made a deal for just 1 week. He would cook dinner himself. Nothing complicated, a lean protein, some vegetables, a whole grain like brown rice or quinoa. And instead of shaking the salt shaker or depending on packaged food, he'd use a small pinch of pink Himalayan salt or sea salt. Nothing more. These natural salts aren't magic, but they contain vital trace minerals like magnesium and potassium, which support blood vessel relaxation and help balance out excess sodium already in the body. What happened next amazed him within days. His rings fit more loosely on his fingers. He didn't feel as puffy or bloated. His morning stiffness eased, and when we rechecked his blood pressure, it had dropped noticeably. He smiled at me and said, "I didn't think something so simple could make me feel this different." And that's what I want every man to understand. Cooking with your own hands, using real ingredients, and seasoning with intention, it matters more than you think. Your blood vessels are aging. Your circulation needs help, and no food label can replace what your own hands can prepare. Choosing real salt over processed sodium is a small step, but it's one that can open your arteries, ease your heart, and even help you sleep deeper through the night. And while we're on the subject of small steps that make a big difference, there's one more food you need to hear about. It's something creamy, rich, and delicious, but without the added hormones or chemicals found in most dairy products. In fact, this food doesn't just avoid harm, it actively helps rebuild your gut health, balance your hormones, and protect your prostate. Let's take a look at the final food I recommend for every man over 60 who wants to stay strong, sharp, and confident. 4 organic Greek yogurt, or plant-based organic Greek yogurt, or plant-based milk almond oat. I still remember the conversation I had with Mark, a 70-year-old retired engineer who came in complaining of digestion issues, low energy, and a general sense that his body was slowing down too fast. He was doing his best, staying active, drinking milk for calcium, enjoying cheese and yogurt. Most days, his fridge was filled with familiar staples: conventional milk, processed cheese slices, and fruit-flavoured yogurt cups he thought were helping his gut. He truly believed he was making the right choices, but like so many men his age, Mark didn't realise how the very dairy products he trusted were working against him. When we looked deeper, his symptoms pointed to more than just ageing. His hormones were imbalanced, his sleep was poor, and he was dealing with prostate swelling that made his nights restless. I explained to him something that most men over 60 are never told, that many conventional dairy products contain synthetic hormones used in industrial farming like RBGH, and those hormones can disrupt the male endocrine system. In other words, what's meant to nourish you may actually be flooding your body with estrogen-like compounds that suppress testosterone, irritate the prostate, and stir up low-grade inflammation that affects everything from digestion to desire. Mark listened carefully, and I could see the concern on his face. "So what do I do?" he asked. I gave him a simple plan: ditch the conventional milk and yogurt instead, switch to organic hormone-free Greek yogurt, plain unsweetened, and try almond or oat milk as a dairy alternative within 2 weeks. He started noticing changes. His bloating eased. His energy lifted, and perhaps most telling of all, he began sleeping through the night for the first time in months. Greek yogurt, especially the organic kind, is rich in probiotics that feed your gut, the very foundation of immune health and hormone balance. And without added sugars or artificial sweeteners, it becomes a clean, high-protein food that works for your body, not against it, as for almond or oat milk. These are naturally free from synthetic hormones and gentler on digestion. Many plant-based milks are also fortified with calcium and vitamin D, offering the same bone support without the hormonal disruption that can come from conventional dairy. What Mark learned is something I hope every man over 60 takes to heart. You don't have to give up comfort. You just need to make smarter swaps. Your body at this age is sensitive. It deserves better than artificial additives and hidden hormones. When you feed it clean, nourishing options, it responds often faster than you expect now that you've seen the 4 worst foods you should avoid and the 4 powerful alternatives to eat. Instead, you may be wondering, what's next? What's the simplest way to bring all of this together into something you can actually follow day by day, meal by meal? In just a moment, I'll show you exactly how to turn this knowledge into action with a daily power plate formula I give to my own patients. It's easy, delicious, and designed specifically for men over 60 who want to reclaim their strength and live with purpose. Let's bring it all together. Final doctor's message. I've sat across from hundreds of men. Final doctor's message. Fathers, husbands, veterans, teachers, each one carrying their own quiet frustration. Some feel like their body's betraying them. Others blame themselves for slowing down, losing energy, or struggling to feel the same confidence they once had. But I'll tell you what, I always tell them it's not your fault. No one taught you how to eat for the man you are now. You've spent decades hearing mixed messages about what's healthy, what's not, what to fear and what to follow. But if you're over 60, the rules are different. And what you put in your body every day can either speed up your decline or unlock a second chapter of strength, clarity, and intimacy. We started by shining a light on the hidden enemies in your kitchen. Processed meats full of chemicals that choke off blood flow, refined carbs. Those innocent slices of white bread that steal your energy and dull your testosterone. The sodium bombs hiding in frozen meals and canned goods, silently raising your blood pressure and blocking circulation. And the dairy products you were told would make your bones stronger, but instead disrupt your hormones and inflame your prostate. These foods don't just make you tired, they make you forget who you were before. The fatigue, before the discomfort, before the quiet frustration started creeping in. But more importantly, we talked about the simple swaps that can change everything. Wild-caught salmon and sardines that fuel your arteries and restore your heart. Steel-cut oats and sprouted grains that balance your blood sugar and support your hormones. Homemade meals seasoned with real mineral salt instead of the hidden sodium that wears you down, and clean probiotic-rich yogurt or plant-based milk that works with your body, not against it. These foods don't just feed you. They bring you back to life, one plate at a time. I've watched it happen in real men just like you. I've seen energy return in their eyes. I've seen marriages reconnect. I've seen grandfathers run after their grandkids again, without fear. And what made the difference wasn't a pill or procedure. It was understanding how to eat in a way that matches who they are now, not who they were 20 years ago. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin, pick one food, one meal, one habit, and do it today. Cook one fresh dinner. Instead of microwaving it, add oats instead of toast, choose almond milk instead of dairy. You'll feel the difference. And once you feel it, you won't want to go back, because this is your time not to fade, but to rise, to take ownership of your health, your strength, your vitality. It's not too late, in fact. For many of my patients, this is when life finally starts to feel good again, clearer, lighter, and more grounded. So here's my challenge to you. Treat your next plate like it matters, because it does. And if you do, the man you used to be isn't lost. He's just been waiting for the right fuel to come back stronger than ever. If this video spoke to you, if even one part made you stop and think about your health, your future, or your strength, I want to invite you to take the next step. Click the like button to let me know you're with me. Share this video with a friend, a brother, or a father who might need to hear these words. You never know how much one message can change a life. Leave a comment below and tell me, what habit are you most ready to change? What food are you letting go of today? Your story could inspire someone else to start their journey too. And if you'd like to support this channel and help us keep creating real doctor-backed health content for men over 60, consider donating through the link in the description. Every bit helps us reach more people who need it. Men who deserve to feel strong, confident, and fully alive again. This channel is here for you. And if you're ready to take back your health, I'll be right here to walk with you every step of the way.